I want to jump to this tweet from Letitia James, the AG of New York. She tweeted $464,576,230.62. We know what that means. That is the number that they are trying to steal from Donald Trump. You know what's really fascinating is the number that the court prescribed seems to be the amount of money that Donald Trump has in the bank. Trump has about $400 million in cash. And so they said, you got to give us $400 million. Okay.
We know he's got that in liquid cash, do we?
This is like the John Bonet ransom note when they asked for exactly her dad's bonus.
Right. I mean, so this is an argument from the left is that Trump actually has more, 600 to 700, but Trump has stated it's about 400, and they asked for 4. New York, like, I'm sorry. Look, the other story in this is Letitia James just won a case against the NRA officials. This is Wayne LaPierre is liable for $5.4 million and some others. This is the overt, obvious weaponization of the political apparatus of New York. Yeah. So you listen, what's the off-ramp? And what happens to a republic when there is no functioning legal jurisprudence in a state and it is simply just a gun? New York State serves as a political gun for Democrats. That's it. Criminals are let go. Illegal immigrants are beating cops, and they are using the legal system as a weapon against their political opponents.
Think about what a shit show that city
It's crazy.
is.
Letitia James called the NRA a terrorist organization, right? Like, she knows exactly who she's out to get. She's not investigating fairly. She's not trying to protect the people of New York. She has a political agenda, and she's acting on it.
Full disclosure, I think Trump's hilarious. I absolutely hate the NRA, and I hate Wayne LaPierre. He's a putz. But they're still screwing him for, as a political action. This is all about politics.
Where is any state? Any conservative state? Yeah. West Virginia, what are you doing? Oh, man.
I mean,
who's running for AG next? Because it's Morrissey now, but he's leaving, isn't he?
Well, Morrissey's running for governor, right?
Right.
I tweeted this earlier
Can we get some, can Matt Walsh run for AG of West Virginia?
But do what?
I mean, Tennessee's next door.
Indict as many Democrats as you can for whatever you possibly
But they're doing illegal things.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's not like if a conservative AG had the balls to actually look and use the power of the government. It's not like he wouldn't have plenty of stuff to investigate and indict people on. There's absolutely no question about it. But they just don't have the courage. So.
Do we know who's running for AG?
Yeah, so there are 2 Democrats, Richie Robb and Teresa Torseva, and then John B. McCuskey and Mike Stewart are the Republican candidates right now.
But I tweeted about this morning. We need to have significant lawfare. There needs to be significant legal attacks against Google, again, for under civil rights laws. There needs to be massive amounts of lawfare. There needs to be prosecutions, investigations. Every single conservative that is in any position of power that can investigate some kind of possible breaking of the law, they need to do it, and they need to do it specifically when it's Democrats for political reasons. Because that's what the Democrats are doing. Yep. If lawfare is what they want, lawfare is what we need to deliver them, and we need to deliver them lawfare in as much volume as possible.
And the end result is obvious, isn't it?
I mean,
Republicans right now are going, guys, we can't do this because think of the escalation that it would cause. And it's like, dude, they are literally seizing the president's assets, the former president's assets. They are trying to put him in prison on false charges. They are falsely accusing him of all sorts of untoward things. They are going after his children. And y'all are like, yeah, but calm down.
And the thing is, the less political response you get, the more likely someone does something that everybody doesn't want. The more likely some nutbag decides he's going to grab a gun and go shoot a politician or something like that. Some idiot does something stupid. Because those problems arise when people feel like they don't have a political way to see their complaints rectified, or like in the case of the election, where the courts won't even hear them.
Yeah.
If the courts don't hear you and you're just disregarded, you are left with no option.
Well, I completely agree with you. And if we see the shenanigans in this 24 election and the Democrat, whoever they might be, maybe Joe Biden will serve successfully until 2029. Who knows? But if we get a rerun of 2020 and it ends up in the same way, I think things could get really, really ugly then.
So what's stopping Morrissey of West Virginia from right now doing what Letitia James is doing?
Well, it depends on what you mean. So, like with the NRA case,
any NGO, Planned Parenthood, any NGO that operates in West Virginia's borders should be taken to a court and sued into oblivion using all of the state's resources.
Yeah, it's interesting because the NRA, the reason Letitia James is able to go after the NRA is because they're headquartered in New York, and any nonprofit that's headquartered in New York is subject to this jurisdiction of the Attorney General. They couldn't even move out if they wanted to.
All national NGOs have legal filings in those states.
Right, but
so that means Morrissey could go after any of these national level NGOs.
Sure, but like with the NRA specifically, it's headquartered in New York. That's why she's able. They can't move it out without the Attorney General to consent to dissolve.
No, that doesn't matter.
Status. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's one of the unique things.
Yeah,
about this case.
But it's not. The name an NGO that's operating at a national level, and they are filed in all states. Mm-hmm. They operate as an organization in all states. They are subject to the jurisdiction of all in each individual state.
Yeah, I'm just saying that in particular, that's one of the reasons that the NRA has specific ties to New York. It makes it slightly different. I'm not saying that
it doesn't make it different. It does not make a difference at all. So if you have a nonprofit headquartered in Vermont and you are operating nationally, that means you have filed. Okay, so we have nonprofits, right? That means you go to each state and file that nonprofit with the state as though you are based in that state.
It doesn't matter if a single entity.
It's a single national entity with a federal tax number, but it has to operate. It has to file to operate in each state.
Okay.
It's very, very difficult. So that means if you are Planned Parenthood, you are filed to operate in West Virginia, and you are subject to the jurisdiction. It doesn't matter where you're. I mean, the difference, I suppose, is that they might not have. They have a bigger building, maybe. But like Planned Parenthood has offices all over the country. Morrissey could start filing against them in 2 seconds. He could make any claim. Alabama right now could go after Planned Parenthood. They've got a whole bunch of now laws on the books. And was it Alabama that said getting an abortion out of state is a conspiracy to commit a crime? They could start going after anyone.
I thought that was Idaho. I might be wrong though.
No, I don't think it was Idaho.
Alabama.
My point is not any of these things specifically, but there's not a single conservative that is looking at who they have jurisdiction over and doing anything about it.
Nope. Conservatives are they're not doing anything. Just like you said earlier about settle down, calm down, blah 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 blah. They are not doing what they need to do to protect the country from people that are looking to fundamentally change the structure of the country. Like the new thing today was people talking about where natural rights come from, and they're saying, oh well, your rights don't come from your rights come from the government. They don't come from you being a person. Right. That is something that the left wants, because as soon as they can convince people that your rights come from the government, once that is the general consensus, then they're privileges. Yeah. Then they are at will. Then there is no more. Then the fact that the Bill of Rights implies that there are rights that exist prior to the government becomes irrelevant, because the people just start thinking that their rights come from the government. Mm-hmm. And that's better than changing any law. It is, if you can get the narrative in people's heads to change and people to conceptualize their country in a different way, it doesn't matter what the laws are, because no one will ever think that you should be brought up on charges when you break the law if people don't think that it's breaking the law. Mm-hmm. If people don't think that the government is breaking the law by jailing a journalist, right? If the government just said, we're going to pick this guy up and toss him in jail and it's fine. If people don't think that that's breaking the law, then there will be no outcry, and the government will do whatever it wants. So if the government can use narrative to control people's thoughts and opinions, the law is totally irrelevant. You can sit there and be like, well, they're breaking the law, they're oppressing me, blah, blah. Then no one cares.
Right.
They don't care. And if no one cares, the law doesn't matter. And we live in a country where it is only a matter of time until the boot starts coming down on people.
The law doesn't matter. What matters is culture.
Yes.
We talk about it all the time. There are blue laws. There are laws in the books that have never been enforced, that haven't been enforced in 100 years. And so you have in West Virginia, it is quite literally illegal you can interpret the laws in so many different ways, but having a drag show with children violates like 5 or 6 different laws in the state. Mm-hmm. And they don't do anything.
Nothing happens.
They let them do it and they clap in cheers. It happens because the culture of Berkeley County, West Virginia, doesn't care. And perhaps the local prosecutor, I guess, is a leftist. I have no idea.
So I was talking to, this is a little bit of an aside, but I was talking to my nephew, the older one. He's 19, almost 20 now. Actually turns 19 in March. And someone had said something that young women are still kind of like enamored with the whole woke thing, and young men are totally rejecting it. Yep. Like really, well, the data really shows strongly. It. Yeah. And so I hit him up because he's a young guy in school. I'm like, yo, what are your friends doing? Like, do your guy friends, blah, blah, blah. Do you see this? This is what I hear people saying. I think I sent him a tweet from someone that said it. Oh, it was Scott Adams said it. And I sent him, I was like, do you think this is this what you'd see at school? And he's like, yeah. He's like
getting an eyewitness account.
You're if you've got people that are, that are there. So I hit up my, and they're smart kids. So they're like, my sister's definitely a normie. She's a bank manager and she's very, she's not very involved in politics. So she's not actively against Trump or anything or against people. She's just not really involved, but she's very much a normally. And so like they are not raised to have a right-wing opinion. So it's really interesting to see what they think. And they see it. They're like, look, yeah, we see it. They see, and they're like, the kids now, like the racism is definitely making a comeback among young people. There's a lot of racist jokes that you think would be off limits. Or that are off limits, like young. But
that makes them want to do it.
Exactly.
Right? If you're going to say don't do that, what are teenagers going to do? The exact thing you're saying they shouldn't. I worked at an all-girls boarding school way back in the day. Basically, it was like 2019. I was working there, and the girls' school, when they told me about going into the election, and they were saying, we had canceled classes because they're all expecting to have a day off to celebrate Hillary. And then they had baked like all these cupcakes, like it was a whole thing. And then they had this, I remember the dean of students telling me, he's like, we're really grateful we did that because it was a very emotional day for our students the day after the election.
That is really like Santa did not come.
There were 3
like
girls,
6-year-old Santa just didn't show up. Like
right, and there was just like a small group of girls who had been pro-Trump the whole time. And again, it's a small school, so they know who it is. And the school talking about them would act like they were these terrible kids. They were disruptive because they supported. They kept saying that he won.
It wasn't that Santa didn't come. It's that Krampus did.
Even better.
Right. And so we're laughing like we didn't do anything. Like we're happy, whatever. Man, I can't believe that guy won. It was a wild night.
It was
2016.
Fun.
Yeah. Wow.
Never forget it.
Never forget. Everyone remembers exactly where they were when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
No. You want to know where I was?
Yes.
Venezuela.
Wow.
And what was your reaction? Like, what did Venezuela think of this?
Well, I don't know what Venezuela thought of it. Actually, Venezuela was pretty happy. In fact, Donald Trump was very popular in Venezuela because the regime in Venezuela is really unpopular.
Yeah.
And, Trump was sanctioning Maduro and trying to get Maduro out. But no, I'll never forget that night. It was something special. In fact, it was difficult to kind of take it all in because it was all happening so fast. You didn't have time to kind of bathe in the glory of it.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.